Can the world learn from the failure of the Budapest Accords? It's actually the Budapest Memorandum is the formal name for it. And I think most Americans don't realize that we have a signed agreement with Ukraine. This was the U.S., the U.K., and Russia. In 1994, we signed an agreement saying that we would defend, we would protect, we would respect the territorial integrity and defend the territorial integrity of Ukraine. And, you know, we're largely ignoring it. Zelensky has called us out on this over and over and over again. The American media doesn't talk about it. I published the entire, you know, it's only a 2-page long memorandum. And this was put together by the UN, these meetings in Budapest. And in exchange for the United States, the United Kingdom, and Russia guaranteeing Ukraine's territorial sovereignty in 1994, Ukraine gave up almost 2,000 intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, the SS-19s and the SS-24s, almost 2,000 of them. Each one of those intercontinental missiles had a warhead that was between 4 and 550 kilotons. That's 30 times the size of the bomb that took out Hiroshima. Every single one of them. So, you know, 2,000 of these things, 30 times, what is that, 600 times? That's the equivalent of 600 Hiroshima bombs in terms of explosive power. And they were all, most of them were pointed at the United States. Some of them were pointed at Western Europe, but these were ICBMs. They were stationed in Ukraine. Ukraine was the third largest nuclear power in the world after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And so we went in there and we cut them a deal. It was basically a 3-part deal. First of all, they wanted assistance. They wanted assurance from us that they, as a country, could continue to be a country, that their territorial boundaries would be respected. All 3 of our countries, the United States, Russia, and the United Kingdom, signed saying, yes, we will defend your territories, or we will respect your territories at the very least. Secondly, they wanted some financial help to dig those missiles out of the silos and transport them to Russia for destruction. We gave them $3 billion, the U.S., the U.K., and Russia. And third, they still had 15 functioning nuclear power plants, and they wanted to take the radioactive material in those warheads and reprocess it back into nuclear fuel, which they had been doing, apparently. And, you know, therefore, they could be more or less energy independent with their nuclear power plants for the next couple of decades. We did that as well. You know, in fact, Russia provided much of the help for that. And we provided them with a $3 billion fund to create the modern Ukrainian military. So, you know, I mean, the language that's in there says, you know, the U.S., the U.K., and Russia, quote, reaffirm their obligation to refrain from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of Ukraine, that we will refrain from economic coercion against Ukraine, that should things break down, we will, quote, seek immediate United Nations Security Council action to provide assistance to Ukraine if any nation were to initiate an act of aggression against Ukraine. Now, arguably, we've done those things. We had the meeting in the UN. But, you know, nowhere in this agreement does it say exactly what our assistance to Ukraine would be in the event they were attacked. And President Zelensky just last Friday, March the 4th, he said, all the alliance has managed to do so far is to carry 50 tons of diesel fuel for Ukraine through its procurement system, probably so that we can burn the Budapest Memorandum. The Wall Street Journal just published an op-ed saying and pointing out what I point out in this article, which is that every other country in the world that has nukes or wants to have nukes, and I'm talking like North Korea, right, Iran, every other country in the world that thought, maybe I should have nukes to protect myself, and then we said, oh, no, don't worry, we'll take care of you, everything's good, like we did with Iran. They're looking at Ukraine right now and saying, oh, this is what happens when you give up your nukes. The country next door invades you. I guarantee you they're talking about this in Taiwan right now. There were nukes in Taiwan until 1972 or 3. I forget the year, maybe even 74. Nixon took the nukes out of Taiwan. It was part of a deal with Taiwan and China. So Taiwan has been denuclearized. Iran has to be looking at this thing going, huh? North Korea, you think we're going to give up our nukes now after President Trump came over and patted us on the head and we built dozens more and tested them and he was like, oh, that's good. Look at that, Kim. He's a wonderful guy. And now comes this Wall Street Journal op-ed. Now, this is a Murdoch-owned publication that had been cheerleading for Trump when Trump was sucking up to Putin. And they said, and I quote, this was published on February 22nd, quote, "Don't be surprised if Japan or South Korea seek their own nuclear deterrent. If Americans want to know why they should care about Ukraine, nuclear proliferation is one reason. Betrayal has consequences as the world seems destined to learn again the hard way." It's breathtaking. We need a new set of, a new revision of the Budapest protocols. But beyond that, we've got to make sure that the agreements that we have with these other countries contain explicit mutual defense provisions.